right, guys, let's take a look at this essential question, because it's one of those questions that can sound pretty inflammatory, like I'm trying to get you to rebel, and that's not really what it is. I'm asking that you take a look at the essential question in regards to how it would have applied to colonial America prior to the year 1776. So the question is, when is it necessary to rebel against your government? So when we take a look at this, one of the things that we have to understand is that by the year 1750, the colonies had gone from a population of about 50,000 people to over 1 million. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why was it that the population grew so drastically from its inception all the way up to the year 1750? And I mean, we're looking at, was it cheap labor? Was it the way in which colonies govern themselves? Was it opportunity to start over? You know, what was it exactly that people were looking for and finding in the colonies? So one of the things you have to think about is in, say, the South, and you're a farmer. One of the things that England was doing was they were saying, look, you're allowed to sell whatever crops you want and raise whatever crops, you know, that's all great, but you can only sell it to us. You can only sell to England. I don't care if there's somebody down the street who is willing to pay you more than what we're willing to pay you. You're not allowed to sell to them. It's against the law for you to sell to someone other than England. So you're going to raise your crops in colonial America. You're going to ship them all back to England because you're going to sell them to England. Then England is going to essentially tax them and set the price, ship them back to the colonies, so that way they can charge a very specific amount, and they are the ones who are in control making the money. And I mean, that really is part of the oppression in the South. Now, there are going to be two types of people who are going to be living in the colonies. One group is called the Loyalists. Now, when we look at this word, loyalist, we have to be able to see there's a word loyal. So this group is going to be loyal to England. And then we have another group that is called the Patriots. Patriots are anybody who thought that what England was doing was wrong. And these two groups are going to definitely oppose each other, because the Loyalists are going to say, you know what, we owe England our allegiance. They have done so much for us. They have provided protection. They have given us, you know, a government. They are able to make laws. They're able to do all of these things for us. We owe them. And the Patriots say, we don't owe them anything. Absolutely not. And these two groups are going to be what really leads us on a path to the American Revolution and declaring our independence. So as we go throughout this unit, we're looking at all the different events, all of the different acts or taxes that are going to be passed by Parliament, by England, that are going to affect the colonists And one of the major keys here is the fact that the colonists, you know, it's great that England has, you know, that the Magna Carta was passed and it limited the power of the king. And so now there's this thing called the Parliament. So, you know, the common person has actual representation in English government. But you know who doesn't have any representation in the English government? Colonists. Colonists have no representation in Parliament whatsoever. But yet, Parliament is going to start passing laws that affect these people. So when we look at this, it's like, okay, we as Americans, and I'm speaking, today, we as Americans, we elect people into government. We have that decision, and we are electing our people. So in Ohio or in Pennsylvania, you're electing an official to go to the federal government and represent Pennsylvania or Ohio so that your group of people, your state, is represented in the federal government. Well, back in the 1750s and on up into the 1770s, England has no representation for this group of people, and they're really upset about it, which is partly why the Patriots say, we don't owe them anything. They're not representing us. All they're doing is oppressing us. All they're doing is passing laws and taxing us like crazy. And the Loyalists say, look, they provided an army for us. We owe it to them. Even though we're not being represented in Parliament, Loyalists are going to say, look, they provided a military because there was the French and Indian War, and we have to pay that debt off. So England helped protect us from the French and Indians, and we are indebted to England. And England is going to use that same line of thinking to say, you know what, you're right, you do owe us, and you're going to help pay off the tax or pay off the debt that was incurred by our military for your protection. So you owe us. And the Patriots are going to, again, go back to this idea of, yeah, but there's no representation in Parliament. We would be perfectly fine with the taxes and whatnot if we actually had people sitting in Parliament that represented us and the different colonies. Because each of our colonies have different needs. As you guys learned in the last unit, the New England colonies had very different needs from the middle colonies, which had different needs from the southern colonies. And so all the colonists are asking is for representation. And that is going to lead to a lot of the reasons why they're going to revolt against the government. So going back to that essential question of when is it necessary to rebel against your government, the colonists are citing this very reason. Now, is that going to be the only thing that's going to happen? No. But we'll get into that into the future videos.